Hey guys, EASYCORE from Spinlight Studio here with you, and I'm pretty excited to share a new plugin with you today from Kiive Audio called the Complexx 760 Limiter. This thing sounds amazing, especially on drums and the mix bus. This is a really colorful, flavorful compressor. Probably become my new favorite drum bus compressor, to be honest. And after watching this video, if you think that the Complexx 760 Limiter is a great plugin and you want to get your hands on it, make sure you use the link in the description below because that helps support this channel as well. I won't talk too much about it because I think I'll just show you and you'll understand very quickly why I like the sound of this. So you can hear it, can't you? You can hear how it just glues the drums together and makes them sound way more exciting too. A really big thing that you'll notice down on the drum bus is that it controls the peaks really well. So you can see when I had the Complexx bypassed, the snare was really jumping through. And then when we had it on, you could see it was controlling the peaks really well, but the sound was great. It was even enhanced. It didn't sound like we were squashing the snare in an unpleasing way. So the settings I'm using here, I pretty much started with the factory preset drums, drum bus glue. And you can see all I've changed is like the input and the output, which are gain linked. So if you pull this back, you can see the output changes, which keeps everything level matched. So as we feed it more into the compressor, the output gets pulled down more and it just makes it sound like we're not getting louder, but we can hear the effects of the compression better. As well as we have like a master input and a master output. So I've just kind of played with those to feed the signal in until I was getting the sound that I liked. And that's pretty much it, just taking that fast release, played with the threshold until we're getting a nice amount of compression, 2:1 ratio so it's not too aggressive. And then a little bit of side chain, just letting a bit of that low end through so we're not getting overly compressed whenever the kick's hitting. And then I dialed the mix knob back to about 65%. And we've got the peak limiter on. So you can have a look when we turn this off, we do let those peaks through. So that's kind of where the magic's happening in the peak limiter. It's really controlling those peaks on the drum bus and just adding that kind of like saturation to the sound as it kind of clamps down on the snare. Another little fun thing on here is the tone knob. So just a quick way of adding a little bit of like brightness to your sound, or even just like rolling that back a little bit and just warming it up a bit. And so what I really love about this on the drum bus is how it just pulls the whole drum sound together. The snare gets pulled in, the kick comes up, and the cymbals are more present. The whole kit just sounds more together than it was before the compression. It's just awesome. Like the glue that it creates on the drum kit is amazing. So I really love this on the drums, if you can't tell. Now I've loaded it up on our kick and snare bus as well as our room bus because I want to show you some of the other presets they have in here because they are pretty nice. Okay, so on our room bus here, I've literally just loaded up their preset drums, drum room smash. How good is that? That sounds really nice on the room mics there. Now, one thing I really like about this preset is on the release, they don't have the fastest release, and there's so many people who just do like a fast release, and all that does is bring the cymbals up super aggressive in your face. And I think it's really good to see that they have the release set back a little bit so that this sort of just pumps a bit more rather than just being like cymbals back up in your face. definitely adds some flavor to the whole drum kit sound when you blend it in there. Let's have a quick look at the snare. So as you can see on here, there is an expander gate section as well. So I found that kind of interesting because it is like a stereo dual mono mid-side compressor, but it also has an expander on it. So you can use this on channels to gate the sounds and get a bit creative with it as well. So again, this is just a preset called Snare Heft. So I haven't really played with any of these settings. I've just loaded up as is. So you can hear that gate's working pretty hard, but it does sound pretty cool, and it is adding some aggression to the snare sound. And you can always tweak this by like pushing the range back up to 0 and then playing and bringing it down to find that sweet spot. Yeah, just a couple of dBs can actually add a little bit of extra transient punch to the snare, but then also then pulls away the decay a little bit. So after playing with it a bit, I did find that comparing between the gate and the expander setting, the gate adds more snap to the drum sound, whereas the expander kind of like smooths off the transient a little bit. So you can definitely get some interesting sounds there just by playing with the threshold and whether you're with the expander or the gate. The expander seems to make the sound expand in a way, like not so much as what I'm used to with like the SSL channels where the expander still works in a gating kind of way. This seems to push the sound out a bit more, but it does lose a little bit of like the transient attack. So if you have too much attack, maybe that's a good way of sort of just adding a bit more length to the sound. Whereas gates are a really good way to kind of like make things like snappy and punchy. And then you have a couple of settings for the attack time, whereas the fastest attack time is obviously good for drums. Similar with the compressor, you have some different attack times. For me, these numbers are probably just a little too small. Kind of sitting back here and looking at them, it is hard for me to read them. But I know that the middle time is 25 milliseconds, and so that lets some nice transient through of the snare. And if you wanted to crush it more, you'd go one of these faster times, like a 2.5 or a 0.25, I think it says up there. Yeah. So it is adding some aggression to the snare, which is kind of cool. And also on our kick bus, so we've got like all the close mics from the kick and any kick samples and stuff going in here. We have a kick tight preset. So again, let's have a listen to this in solo. So the title is not wrong. It does make the kick sound nice and tight. And I have this on the kick bus here. So I'd maybe not want this necessarily here in a mix, because if I have like a kick sample with some kick room on it, it's kind of choking that stuff away. But on an individual channel, I can imagine that this would sound quite good at getting the kick really punchy, because you can hear it's just making it sound super punchy right now and getting rid of a lot of that ambience that's in there. Definitely making that kick punch a little harder. So we've got Complexx on the drum bus, we've got it on our kick bus, our snare bus, and our room mics. Let's have a listen to what it sounds like when we play our drum mix and then take away Complexx. Let's see how the drum mix holds up once it's gone. You can hear it's adding some serious flavor and aggression to this mix, which is good for this kind of style of music, you know, once we get the track back in there. It It makes these drums sound so good against the mix. They don't really fall away or sound too pokey or anything like that. It just sounds chunky and in your face, which is great for this kind of pop punk slamming sound. So even if we just kept Complexx on the drum bus and we took this away, it's still adding so much goodness to the drum mix.
'Cause I'm awake with my eyes still shut. Every smile I fake, this world fucks me up.
Like, I still just love that sound, even without it on the individual channels there. Sounds so good. So as you can tell, I'm a really big fan of this. Just love it on drums, and I think that's where it really, really excels. But I'll also show you an example of what it sounds like on the mix bus. So I'm going to go into another project that I mixed recently, and I ended up using this as the mix bus compressor, and I'll show you what it sounds like. Okay, for this next example, we're using the Complexx on the mix bus of a kind of grungy rock track. Originally I had a different compressor on there, and I swapped it out for this, and this just glued it together in such a nice and pleasing way. Now what I want you to listen out for is how the low end tightens up, and we get a little bit of more presence to the top end, and just how the whole track sort of just comes together nicely when this is engaged. And it is level matched pretty well, so I want you to listen really carefully, and I think you'll hear all this nice goodness that's going on. So it's not over the top, but you can hear it's all those little subtle things that make this sound so nice on the mix bus. And this is just their preset fancy mix bus, and it's actually really good. It's just a great setting off the get-go. Let's load it up and see if I tweaked anything. It doesn't look like I changed anything at all. That's almost a crime to load up a preset on a mix bus. But I just wanted to test it out, try out what they thought was good settings, and I think they've done a really good job with their presets. They've just dialed in the sounds really nicely. So you can obviously go in and go for a higher ratio. It does get a bit more aggressive, so have a listen to what it sounds like as you move up between these ratios on the compressor. It does get pretty heavy-handed as you move up. You could obviously pull this back and play with all the settings, but I think 2-to-1 sounds pretty sweet for this. And they got the sidechain filter, so if you wanted to let more low end through and let the compressor react a bit less, then you could do that. So you can see you can really transform the sound with the tone knob, the type of compression, your release time, the inputs, the sidechain. So it's got all the bells and whistles that you need for a good mix bus compressor. And at the top, you've also got a width option, a THD, so total harmonic distortion, and a mix knob. So I'm going to play the mix and just have a little bit of a play with these and show you kind of what they can do. So those settings are great to have there. You can add a little bit of extra width like we have here, add a little bit of extra saturation if you want, and then if it's all too much, just dial back the mix knob to find that sweet spot. So another great feature is the gain link, and so we've got the left and right link as well. So we have this in dual mono mode. So by having the left and right link on, anything we do on this side affects the other side of the compressor, and make sure that we have the same settings going. And the gain link is also great, just so that you're never really being fooled by loudness. You can push into the compressor harder, but it pulls the output down automatically for you. And then it lets you just focus on the actual sound of the compression. So even a setting like that, I've just sort of dialed in like a parallel compression kind of vibe on the mix bus there, just driving it kind of hard and then pulling the mix back to about 30%. That actually sounds really great too. You can have another listen to that. Add some great excitement to the mix. So it is a very powerful compressor. All the settings that you need to get some really great results. So I'm really impressed by it, and I'm not just saying that because I want you to use the link below to go buy it, but if you do like this compressor, please check the description link below and go purchase it through that link, because by doing that, you help support this channel as well. And just as a side note, any kind of plugin review or anything like that, I'm not gonna tell you to go and buy a compressor or a plugin if I don't actually think it's good and I actually think this is a really great compressor. So obviously it depends how much it costs and if it's something that you want to spend money on, and if you actually think it's good as well. And if you do, awesome, go check it out. And if you don't, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed checking this video out. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support this channel, make sure you check out that description link below, where you can go to my website, check out my drum samples and some mix courses that I have up there. And by doing that, it's a really big support. If you are interested in checking out one of my mix courses, check out this next video coming up. It's a little bit of a promo for a pop punk EASYCORE mix course that I've done. So go and check that one out, and I'll see you over there.